Secretary, Representative Hines, we talk about what Treasury Secretary Geithner wants to do, and he says we will impose on AIG, in essence, a contractual commitment to pay the Treasury from the operations of the company the amount of retention awards just paid. In addition, we will deduct the $30 billion, deduct from there in assistance an amount basically equal to the amount of those payments. What does that really mean, and is that the solution?
Well, what that really means is that our taxpayer dollars are not going to pay bonuses for people who are not just involved, but remember, these are folks that were in the unit of AIG that created the credit default swap exposure that brought the company down. And so I think as a matter of principle, the notion that our hard-earned taxpayer dollars aren't going to provide bonuses to those people is a pretty good notion. Now, the Treasury can affect that. Maybe congressional legislation could affect that. But frankly, as I said before, I'd like to see AIG stand up and do the right thing here, either by getting those people together to agree to give back the money or to figure out a way to get around those contracts. And this notion that, you can't get around a contract, look, all over this country, firefighters, policemen, teachers are being asked to reopen their contracts to give back wages and benefits. So I don't think it's crazy to say that we ought to take a look at that here.
It's not. Representative Moore Capito then, but the argument out there also floating around on Wall Street, well, you take away their bonuses and you're not going to find anybody to do these jobs. Do you buy that?
Well, I inherently disagree with that. I mean, I think that you're looking at large financial institutions that were brought to their knees by basically a lot of greed and overextension of risk. And to think that the American spirit and that the young good minds in this country would not want to bring these companies back without, extravagant bonuses, without holding the taxpayer out for more and more dollars, I think that's a ridiculous concept. I don't buy that. And I think that the fact, and I agree with Jim when he says there are people all over this country that are taking pay cuts, that are working for less time, that are losing their jobs, that are making adjustments in their families, and why these employees at AIG and others cannot, tighten their belt and make adjustments to or break a contract is just, it just doesn't pass the sniff test.
Oh, Representative Hines, you're out there in Connecticut where most of your constituents, many of them certainly are hedge fund people or financial people, but you're also looking at constituents who are looking specifically at Congress and saying so many members, many of actually the subcommittee members have taken money from AIG in the form of donations. How do you answer to that?
Well, the overall campaign finance system is a broken system, and I think you'd find general agreement on that in Congress. But look, you raise another very broader and important point, which is that, as the stones get thrown today, and rightly so, Congress is not blame-free here. The product, the credit default swaps that are at the heart of AIG's mess were explicitly unregulated by an act of Congress a number of years ago. So, while this will be a day of popular expression of anger at AIG, we need to not forget that to some degree Congress was complicit in the mess that grew up at AIG, and we need to look forward and say, look, we need a smart set of regulations, not necessarily more regulations, but smart regulations that are going to prevent this from happening ever again. That's our job, and we've got to step up to do it.
Well,